Welcome to Migrating to Cloud Native Business and Analytics with Amazon QuickSight. My name is Sean Boone. I've been with AWS for almost a year now, and I'm a product manager on the QuickSight team. I'm going to lead off the presentation today, and joining me is my colleague Rahul, who is going to demonstrate some new exciting QuickSight capabilities that we launched this week that will give you more reasons to move your analytics to the cloud. And we are also very honored today to have a customer with us, Max from Siemens, who's going to demonstrate his team's journey using QuickSight. So by way of agenda, I'm going to kick things off describing how we're going to put data to work in the enterprise and what that looks like. Talk about some of the challenges with respect to what we see in terms of fragmentation in BI. And then I'm going to describe our solution, which is Amazon QuickSight, which provides a unified BI service at hyperscale. We'll then talk through some use cases for QuickSight, as well as some new functionality. And then Rahul will do a demo for us on a new capability, a deep dive into paginated reporting. And then Max will join us on stage to talk about Siemens Ops Center intelligence efforts. Now, all of us in this room have a shared goal to make fact-based decisions. And to do that, we need to put data to work. When we put data to work, we're able to identify new opportunities, improve efficiencies, respond faster to issues that need our attention. And we do that also in the context of organizations consisting of humans and human activity, and how that impacts the world and the resources that we have. And so being able to measure that and test hypotheses requires storing data, managing data, and that's how we put data to work. Now, a data-driven organization in the cloud era are organizations that seek the truth by treating data like an asset that's no longer the property of individual departments. It's really a change in mindset to bring data to more people and to bring analytics to more people. And to do that, they set up systems to collect and store and organize data and make it available in secure ways, and through applications that can consume it. And they're also looking for the next set of technologies, like machine learning, that will unlock new value from data to improve operational efficiencies, develop new products and revenue streams, and build better customer experiences. Now, yet, despite all the optimism and promise of value that data can bring, research shows that organizations are still struggling to leverage the power of data across their organizations. So if you look at many of these measurements, it's anywhere around 20% of the organization that is actually benefiting from business intelligence. And there's lots of reasons for why this is the case. But I'd like to talk about one, which is this notion of fragmented BI and how we got here. So organizations are made of users with different analytical needs and constraints. You have executives, they need quick numbers on the go. You have functional leads, they need threshold alerts to take necessary action. You have analysts embedded in departments that build dashboards and do their own analyses. And then you have application users who want analytics embedded in their applications. They don't necessarily want to leave the application that they're in, but they want to do analytics in those applications. Now, the diversity of these BI use cases and how solutions were designed, they were designed to address these sort of singular needs that you see in the middle of the screen here. So it's not uncommon to find organizations that have one, or maybe even more than one, system to run paginated reporting solutions. You may have acquired a company and therefore have another solution in-house, but oftentimes you have one or even more of these systems. And then through changes in technology, we saw, we went from big CRT monitors to screens that we can put up in operation rooms, and we have tablets and phones, and organizations started to build up self-service BI capabilities. And so now they have another system designed to support those use cases. And even more presently, we find that organizations are also looking to deploy natural language query systems to their users. And to do that, they've adopted yet another solution. And then finally, to embed analytics in their applications, they have adopted yet additional systems to do those things. Now, to add to this complexity, keep in mind that each of these systems has its own connectivity layer for data, its own data modeling layer, its own calculation layer, its own visualization layer, and even their own scheduling mechanisms. So we're doing a lot of the work more than once and creating a lot of inefficiencies in doing so. So QuickSight is our solution to fragmented BI. QuickSight enables BI for everyone in the organization that needs it in the format that makes sense for them. Amazon QuickSight, we like to say, offers BI at any scale, or what we would like to call hyperscale. QuickSight is a unified BI service that delivers modern dashboards for interactive analytics, paginated reports for agreed-upon formats of data, embedded analytics for consuming insights directly in applications, and we have natural language query capability with Q that lets users just ask questions using the language that they use every day. Now, organizations can migrate away from maintaining multiple legacy BI systems for different needs and eliminate complexity with QuickSight. QuickSight is built with builders in mind, so whether you are a BI analyst or a developer, we enable you to get your analysis done and delivered anywhere quickly and efficiently. And there's no software or services or servers to install or manage. Customers can just simply lower your costs by eliminating investments in unnecessary resources. And then with usage-based pricing, you reduce your spend by simply paying for what you use. There's no long-term contracts or hidden costs for extra servers. So instead of struggling to work with disjoint legacy systems, BI authors and developers can use one unified modern solution to author the entire experience, from the data connections to data preparation to analyses to dashboards and insights delivered in multiple forms, whether they're dashboards, paginated reports, natural language solutions, and even embedded solutions. And you can do all of that with QuickSight. So the key benefits of QuickSight is that it's one BI service you need to across all of your use cases. It lets you consume insights in the formats that you want, again, from paginated reports to interactive dashboards to embedded analytics. You can do it all from one system. QuickSight enables you to embed easily and seamlessly. We have one-click embedding, and you can easily embed analytics into portals and websites. Developers can further blend in the look and feel to provide a seamless experience to your users with the QuickSight SDK. And to make it easier, and therefore possible for more people to get value from data, users can ask questions in natural language with QuickSight Q. And QuickSight Q will translate their question and provide a correct response with a supporting visual, and even supporting narratives. With machine learning powered Q, and now with auto Q that reduces the overall time to solution, deployment and pre-populating these queue solutions becomes even easier. Now, QuickSight is built on a highly purpose-built serverless architecture that scales efficiently and instantly to hundreds and even thousands of users. No software or servers to install or manage, and customers can lower costs by eliminating investments in unnecessary resources. QuickSight supports enterprise-wide secure sharing with governance and security. We have row-level security, column-level security, and you can define it in one place for all of these different scenarios. And, of course, you get more with less. By reducing the cost through pay per use, you can enable more analytics capabilities throughout the enterprise. You can save money in certain areas and spend it in more analytics use cases. And to date, we have over 100,000 customers who are using QuickSight. And when we look at the actual outputs that you see in a traditional BI deployment, we see really 4 main categories. The first one is this notion of building and deploying modern interactive dashboards that are designed for the screen. And by screen, we mean that could be a tablet, it could be your web browser, it could be your phone. The second class of use cases revolves around natural language query, where customers want to deploy analytics to even more users in their organization. And to do that, they're turning to technologies like natural language query to make that possible. The third use case that we see is around embedded analytics. So customers want to be able to embed analytics in both their internal-facing and external-facing applications. And then finally, there's the use case of paginated reporting that we're going to dive into a little bit more today. So the QuickSight team is constantly working backwards from the needs of our customers, and we're relentlessly focused on delivering functionality to solve your use cases. And to date, we've shipped over 80 new features into QuickSight this year in 2022. And it even includes really large pieces of functionality within that those 80 new features. You know, the idea of paginated reporting is just one of the items in this list. We've also introduced 1 billion row SPICE data sets, as well as programmatic dashboards. But for this year, we're a little over 80 new features for 2022, and we still have a little bit more to come. So first, let's walk through this use case of building and deploying rich interactive dashboards. These dashboards are designed for the screen. They're designed for blazingly fast navigation. They're designed to be interacted with. And the data from these dashboards can be queried directly from the data sources where they reside using direct query, or you can choose to ingest the data into QuickSight's super fast parallel in-memory engine called SPICE that, again, now supports up to 1 billion rows. You can publish these dashboards with a single click, and you can even schedule these dashboards to be delivered on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. And in just a few moments, Rahul is going to demonstrate how we're building out additional scheduling and snapshotting functionality, not just for dashboards, but also for paginated reports. Now, I want to talk through a couple of new features that we've added to the dashboard capabilities of QuickSight. The first is around the area of visualization. This year, we introduced a lot of functionality around one of the most important types of visualization, which are line charts, which are great at showing trends over time. So we've added the ability to give you control over how to display missing data points. We've added new customizations for markers, so you can choose the shape, the size, and the color of these markers. And then we've introduced new line style options that are just not about visual representation. They actually serve very specific functions. Step line charts, for example, are a great way to show data that changes at a specific moment in time, right? So if you imagine something like the minimum wage in the US, it doesn't gradually go up over time, it changes immediately. And so you want to be able to draw that change with a perpendicular type of line visualization. We've also increased the data limits for charts, for line charts, so they now support 10,000 points. Now, I also want to highlight the new smooth line chart that we have that really improves readability for cases where you have overlapping series in your line charts. You can imagine if you're looking at a traditional line chart with very jagged edges, it's often difficult to know the difference between, are these lines overlapping, or is this the same line that's just changing direction? And smooth lines remove that ambiguity, and they make it much easier to follow the lines as they're presented on the screen. And then lastly, we've added a new experience that makes it easier to assign colors to series for charts. We're also introducing small multiples. Small multiples, as you see here on the screen, are great for comparative analysis and make it easy to digest and see patterns in your data. They're often preferred over stacked type chart variants because they really break things out into individual panels, and our eyes just naturally begin to start to make comparisons when we look at these charts. And these are supported on line, bar, and pie charts today. Now, shifting to natural language, QuickSight Q is our natural language query capability that allows anybody to ask business questions simply using the natural language that they are used to using in the traditional conversation. So here you can see what is the week over week revenue difference. And behind the scenes, we're using machine learning models to interpret the user question and intent, and we return back a visualization that provides an answer for the user. And again, this is, sometimes the dashboard doesn't answer the question that you have, and so you're able to go to QuickSight Q and ask that question and get a response. But it also just generally makes analytics more accessible to people who, simply, the simplest user experience you can provide is really just the question that you have in your head. And if we can build that as a user experience into our software, it greatly reduces the barrier to entry for folks. Now, with respect to Q, we introduced new question types for Q here recently. So now you can ask forecasting questions on up to 3 measures just directly right there as part of your question. You can also ask why questions that will help identify key drivers in your data. And this week we also announced pin boards that allow you to save and share Q responses. So once you ask a question and you get a response, you can pin the visualization to a pin board, and you can return to that at any time and share it with other people. And lastly, we're taking the process of preparing data for natural language query and dramatically reducing the amount of time it takes to perform this function. And so we're using machine learning to go in and classify dimensions and measures, create name labels, and then enrich topics with synonyms, semantic types, and default dates. And this really reduces the overall time that's required to get a natural language query solution up and running. Now, all of these capabilities are available in embedded analytics in for your applications. You can embed dashboards, natural language query experiences, and even dashboard authoring into your applications. It's super fast to get started. There's no custom development or domain expertise needed. And again, there's no servers for you to manage, simple maintenance. It scales to whatever your needs are. And just this week, we announced new expanded APIs that give you programmatic creation and management of your dashboards. So this is this is super critical in terms of being able to integrate your dashboard and data set assets and all of your QuickSight assets into your DevOps situations, where you have code that's being stored in repositories and you want to back up these assets. You can now do that with these new APIs and the data that they return. You can also use these APIs to accelerate your own migration from older BI systems, where you can interpret files and create QuickSight assets. It really reduces the time for you to accelerate those, for you to do those migrations. And of course, across the entire portfolio of capabilities, we're augmenting data with machine learning. So we have auto-narrative capabilities that will summarize business metrics in plain language. We provide machine learning predictions directly in the product, and we also enable you to connect to Amazon SageMaker models. So you can call those models that are deployed elsewhere and bring those results into QuickSight. Again, we're using machine learning with respect to our natural language query capability. And we have machine learning available to do anomaly detection, so you can discover unexpected trends and outliers in your data. And we also use machine learning in our forecasting capability that's built directly in the product. And you saw some of that with Q as well. Now, I'm really excited today to talk about an entirely new use case that we're bringing to QuickSight, and that's paginated reporting. Now, paginated reporting is a critical capability that's been in the industry for decades, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's paginated, page-based reporting. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what what paginated reporting is, and then talk about the benefits. So the first is that paginated reports build multi-page reports. You can generate PDF reports that render all of the data, all the rows of a pivot table when it's exported out. And you can see an example of this here on the screen. And you can see how it's different from a rendition that would be, for example, in a dashboard. In a dashboard, if you have thousands of rows in a table, you might simply scroll those rows. You might use a UI gesture to be able to click next, next, next. But when you go to paper and when you go to PDF, you want all of the data. And so we have to give you control over how that data is laid out. And so we're giving authors the ways to define explicit page breaks and control the flow of the output. Headers and footers are also a really important aspect to reporting. You need to be able to add parameters for things like page numbers and total number of pages in the report. And you want to be able to add logos and visuals and other text to the header and footer areas. And so we have the ability for you to create headers and footers with paginated reporting. And then QuickSight paginated reporting also includes scheduled delivery, so that you can schedule PDF documents that span multiple pages, and you can also export CSV. And we're adding new snapshot history capabilities so that you can pull up these snapshots on demand. So we'll store all of the report snapshots, and you can pull these up on demand. Now, the benefits of paginated reporting in the cloud are that now we have this additional use case such that you can build all of your insights independent of your preferred consumption model, whether it's a dashboard, whether it's a report, whether it's through natural language, on a single source of truth and governed data sets. So that calculation that you do for profitability, you can define it once, and you can use it in reports, you can use it in dashboards, and you can use it in natural language, and you can use it in embedded solutions as well. It's not multiple data stacks, it's not multiple calculations, it's one set of data and you can consume it how it's best for your users. It's also, with paginated reporting, the authoring experience is built directly into the QuickSight analysis authoring experience. And so we're introducing a new sheet type. There's nothing new to learn. It's the same charts, the same calculations. We're just adding new options and new functionality in addition to what was already present. And again, you pay for what you use, and there's no software updates to manage. So with that, I'd like to invite Rahul up to the stage. He's going to do a deep dive demo on paginated reporting. So come on up.
Thanks, Sean.
And there's the clicker.
All right. Thank you, everybody. So before we get started with the demo, I wanted to kind of maybe set the stage for what this demo is going to be about. So imagine, if you will, each one of you are QuickSight authors. You're set out to build, and your job is with Coffee Emblem Company. Okay, you saw a couple of examples already. So you are responsible for building such beautiful dashboards. That's what you do day in, day out. The Coffee Emblem Company has just decided that they want to sunset their legacy application, their legacy BI tool. And one of the critical reports that your job is today is to rebuild one of those reports within QuickSight. This report is going to be distributed to sales reps all over the US on a monthly basis, and it'll contain information such as what are the top selling products, how are you doing in terms of market size, and detailed information about what products are selling well in what states. So with that, let's take a look of how this works. So what you're seeing on screen is the QuickSight UI. This is a web UI, web-based. There's nothing to install, nothing to do. And what you will notice is that I've already taken the liberty of favoriting the two objects that we're going to be working with today. The first one being analysis. So this is how we build dashboards within the QuickSight tool. When I click into it, what you'll notice as this comes up is that this is a dashboard that we are utilizing today. It highlights a couple of the visual types we have, like geospatial. We have a donut chart, we have a waterfall chart, and we also have the insights. Here, it identifies automatically what are the top 3 products, as well as how does our profitability compare to last month, as an example. We also have a bar chart, as well as the tabular data of the information itself. And as kind of Sean was mentioning, when it's in a dashboard, it's okay in this kind of form. You're able to kind of scroll through and navigate and identify what are the rows that you want to kind of drill in on. But let's get back to the matter at hand, right? We want to build a report. So we want to use the same exact data set, but we want to just take the dashboard as is and just kind of convert it into a report. And that's kind of what this functionality enables. With this one click, what happens is it converts, it moves over all the visualizations we had from the dashboard into a report, allowing me to now delete and remove visuals that may not be applicable for this report use case that I have. I'm able to use QuickSight's drag and drop capability to place visuals where they're most applicable. I'm able to resize them so that they're visual and readable. And we're introducing this concept of a section. What a section is, it helps enable a sequential order in which you want to place these visuals. So I've just created a new section, dropping in this table into this section. So now the system knows, all right, let's just render the visual 1, 2, the bar chart, and the waterfall, before let's moving on to the table below it. As you note in the bottom right of that table, it says it prints across multiple pages, because it's not just going to render what is shown. On a section level, you're able to define explicit page breaks. So after these two visuals have been rendered, there needs to be a page break, and then the next set of things start. You're able to obviously remove that and add sections in between. The sections themselves move as a whole, right? So now you're able to move a collection of visuals before each other and remove them. So a header is nothing but a special section for us, right? It just repeats on every single page. So let's move along in our reporting journey, and we're going to add our coffee emblem logo. So we're going to use the custom visual option, and I'm going to go in and add the coffee emblem logo and resize it so that it repeats on every single page of my report. We're also introducing a net new visual type here of adding a text box. This allows just free-form entry of text without any other frills or any other details. You're able to define a rich text experience, so that way you're able to move this report title. So now let's kind of move down to the footer, right? So what do you typically associate with a report footer? Page number, and when the report was last generated. So again, we're going to lean on our text box, where we have provided an easy, discoverable, quick way to get to those, both page numbers as well as print dates. So here, as I click through, you can see that there's predefined set of formats that you're able to, just with a single click, be able to define that. This is sales data after all, so it has to be confidential. So let's go ahead and mark this report as being confidential. So every time it gets printed, the footer will display it as such. And then let's not forget about a page number. So again, going back to our text box, we're going to add the page number to this footer. So at this point, I will take some liberty and kind of do the Food Network style and say, okay, let's take a look at one that I pre-built. But before I do so, I just want to kind of call out one last capability, which is that the settings that you see on the page, or the canvas, is completely customizable even after the fact, right? So as you're building it, you may realize, you know, I'm running out of space, or this table's too large. I need to switch from portrait to landscape, or vice versa. But let's go ahead and take a look at one I pre-built without too much further time and a little bit of formatting elements that are already pre-built within QuickSight. You can see that a couple of color changes, and it looks pretty beautiful, even if I say so myself. Here, at this point, let's imagine you didn't have a dashboard you wanted to start from. Every time you click a new sheet, this option presents itself, right? So here, the author is presented with a choice. Do you want to build an interactive sheet, which is a dashboard for us, or do you want to build this paginated report? And the power here is, are you able to build them side by side in the same analysis experience, using the same exact data set, right? So here, this is a blank sheet. This is the world's your oyster, whatever you want to build, you're able to build. So now let's get back to the report that we just built, and let's try to complete our job by publishing that to a dashboard. So again, here at this point, we've introduced a new functionality whereby at the time of publishing, you are given, so you're either able to publish as a new sheet or an existing sheet, but then above and beyond that, you're able to specifically select which sheets you want to publish to. So here, you could still have work in progress sheets and things that you don't want the world to know yet. So you're able to selectively choose and select which ones need to be published. So let's go to the dashboard as it's published. And we selected two sheets, if you recall. One was a dashboard sheet, one was a report sheet. The dashboard sheet, as you imagine, and as you probably would expect, are interactive. You're able to zoom in, zoom out of this data. You're able to drill in. You're still able to navigate through the table via the scroll actions. But the cool thing is, now you're able to go to the report sheet, and now you're able to satisfy that use case that we started off with. I'm able to now send, on a monthly basis, a snapshot version of the report, in this case, a sales report, and what you're seeing on screen is that snapshot. And you're seeing them side by side, right? So imagine I'm a user, I want to see what did my data look like as of December, and that's what this view is. I'm also able to, via this dropdown, go back to a certain point in time. What did my data look like as of November this month? And that is an immutable version of that truth. You can see that the best-selling drinks are different, but you're able to kind of zoom in, zoom out, go to specific page numbers, navigate through this snapshot that has been created. And you can see that it's multiple pages. It honors all those different things that we did, page numbers inclusive. But that doesn't stop there, right? So let's move to the recent snapshots area, where you're able to not only see the PDF and download the PDF that we just generated, but you're also able to download the CSV equivalent of that table that was there. So now you're able to satisfy your users by not only providing a highly formatted output, but also the raw data that they can then consume in an Excel or downstream systems. So here, we've created the ability to create multiple schedules. And if I drill into one of those schedules, you can see how that was configured. By providing a schedule name, a description, the author is able to select what content they want to be able to distribute. PDF allows you to select which sheet you want to choose, dashboard sheet or report sheet. But then the CSV, it allows you to select specific visuals from that entire dashboard. Tables, pivot tables to start with. You select the cadence in which it should be distributed, daily, weekly, monthly. And you're also then selecting whom it should be sent out to. So providing a subject line, recipients, and then you're able to specify if you want to include a preview of the report itself in the email body. For PDF, you're able to send it as an attachment. Or if the data is sensitive, let's imagine it's PII or HIPAA compliance, you can then send that as a download link, so that way you're not physically having an attachment floating around. So in this particular case, let's go ahead and save. Let's wait a second or two and imagine that it's the end of the month. And voila, you got an email as a recipient. So it's our coffee emblem, month-to-date sales. You have the attachment of the PDF. You have the link to the dashboard that generated that PDF, as well as a one-page quick snapshot of what that sales number looks like, right? So you're able to quickly glance on your mobile device, wherever it may be, and then if you want to dive right into it, you can. If you click on this View Recent Snapshots, what it does is a quick nav. It opens up the dashboard, and it also opens up the recent snapshots. So you're not now constrained to just looking at what was just generated, but you can go back historically and download and view what was generated last month or the year prior. So let's look at a couple of other examples. So this is an example of a financial statement that we generated. Again, if you think about your own personal use cases, you can easily imagine finance users asking for a specific predefined look and feel. You want the ability to add headers and footers, discrete page breaks, an imagining of a catalog, if you may, of a table with visuals that accompany it. So you can see the stark contrast to what a dashboard is. In this case, we imagined if we had a QuickSight University, right? Then you had students with grades, and how would they do? So you're able to not only design tabular data, but you're also able to leverage existing visual and visual types in the same look and feel. Here, our designers went a little bit outside the box, but you're able to kind of, again, imagine the ability and the endless possibilities that this paginated reports does. And then, last but not least, let's end where we started off with our monthly sales report. Highly formatted, it honors row-level, column-level security, and it can be distributed out to the masses. So at this point, I'm sure you're all wondering, how do we get started and what do we do next? So the paginated reports is an add-on to the Enterprise and Enterprise Plus Q editions of QuickSight. You can ask your account admins to go to the Managed Subscription page and be able to add on QuickSight as an add-on. You are able to select between a monthly or an annual option for a commitment. We've intentionally kept the pricing simple, so there's no additional cost to authors or readers. And it's, again, more from a usage-based model that we're going. So on that note, I would like to turn it over to Max from Siemens to help talk through how Siemens used this.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raul. Yeah. So I'm really happy to be here to talk about my product, Siemens Op Center Intelligence, and how we can solve the issue of our manufacturing customer with our layer analytics together with AWS services and, of course, AWS QuickSight. So starting from the beginning, we are part of the Siemens Digital Industries. Siemens Digital Industries is the market leader in the industrial software. We are focused on complex organization to leverage and to move to digital transformation to that company from all the value chain, starting from the design phase to the production. So let's consider then that the data is really the important part of this journey, because the data coming from the production and the product can be used, analyzed, can be used to the engineering part to improve the product and to then improve the whole value chain in a very effective way. So data is really the center of our organization. So what the customer can do with our comprehensive digital twin, they can predict product and performance of the production. They can increase, of course, the throughput, the speed of the line, can reduce the time to market, can improve the quality, as well as can improve also the design phase and, for example, reduce the physical prototypes using the digital part of our digital twin. Op Center Intelligence and Op Center family and portfolio element are part of the manufacturing, so are mainly dedicated to the production part to improve the production part. What our customers typically are asking are mainly since years, but mainly today, talking about pandemic, talk about crisis of energy. They are affected from fast and cost production, so they need to improve the efficiency. They need to face a high demand variability in the customer request. Of course, they need to reduce the time to delivery, and they always need to keep a high-level quality standard. Of course, there are other problems like the supply chain. You know, the supply chain in this time is very different from time to time, from market to market. There are high consumer demand, there are high consumer cost, there are slow delivery, and all this kind of stuff can be solved by digitalization. What does it mean? It means that, of course, together with our portfolio, we need to bring together flexible technology. And this, of course, is cloud, is IoT, is low-code development, and, of course, analytics. So analytics is really the core of the digitalization journey for our customer. But we know, and that to be in this digitalization, the customer has to having intelligence equipment, a lot of sensor, a lot of data, and acquire this lot of data. But we know in this room that a lot of data does not mean to be able to analyze the data. So you need a level of intelligence at top of this data, because having a lot of data is really important, but you need something more. So that is exactly what we built with Op Center Intelligence, a layer of intelligence layer that is able to transform the big data coming from the IoT and also the data coming from the process and the production environment to a sort of smart data set with an holistic view across the different processes in the manufacturing. That is, of course, having this layer of intelligence and data. That is the first step, but how we can deliver this data in an effective way to our customer, our user. So in manufacturing, we have of course, different requirements. So the user want to have an easy access to the data, so they don't want to be an expert of making SQL query or making every very complex stuff. They need to have a tool easy to use. We want to embed the tool in our Siemens Op Center portfolio, of course. Our customer want to have a single point of access and having all the data all together. We have a very strong needs of data segregation or row-level security. We have an enterprise organization. Users are different from location, from department, and there is an enterprise user. So our customer want to segregate the data and give the data to the right person to the right decision. As well as we started with, at the beginning with, say, yes, our user want to have a flexible dashboard and KPI analysis, slice and dice data, and that is true. We started from that point of view, but our manufacturing customer always is asking for paginated reporting, always is asking, and I have a couple of examples in the next slide. They are asking to have a way to paginate, to print all the data, all the parameters, to export in PDF, to save for a long time. And as well as, of course, scalability. Scalability for the manufacturer is super important because we have a small, medium business where, of course, they want to be conservative in terms of cost. We have a big enterprise that will start small and growing in the time being based on the business. No, sorry. Yeah, how we have built our manufacturing data hub in AWS is exactly with this high-level architecture. So we have different kind of data. We have real-time data coming from IoT. We have more structured data coming from enterprise system or production data. And of course, we are using different services. So you can see we are using for real time, we are using Kinesis, Dynamo, we are using RDS as a short-term data warehouse, we are using S3, EMR, and of course, QuickSight being natively integrated with all these services is really the point to connect everything for our user. Even more today, having the reporting, we can keep our architecture as it is today, adding a new important feature for our customer. This is really a focus point for us. Starting from this architecture, I want to expose a couple of examples of our customer. One is using right now the dashboard and moving really quickly in the next day also to the reporting. So Vorwerk is a German company leading in the household appliance. He started considering to have a solution putting together PLM, ERP, and shop floor data. They started with a solution with more than 20 different silos, data coming from different systems. So they asked us to have a single point of truth, having all the data in a single point and easy to access for every user. And they are using QuickSight right now on top of our architecture for different kind of use case. They have the QuickSight in the factory, in the line, in the big screen where the line supervisor or the operator can see how the data are moving in near real time and taking tactical decision. And they have also in the offices where there are powerful users that can take the decision for a strategical way. The other example is Absolut company. I think that you know Absolut Vodka, so it's quite a famous brand. And also, being a famous brand, having a very wide market, they need to keep under control the efficiency and quality of the system. So also in that case, the requirement was to have a system that was able to have a better traceability of the data, having a better order management, and also having a system that can react quickly on any losses on the production, on the quality. Also in this case, mainly in this case, having a very strong requirement traceability, the reporting is even more important because they can trace all the data, they can have reporting, they can save in PDF, they can every time go to the QuickSight and see what happened in the past. And of course, we have Siemens. We have also our plant with our product and using QuickSight in our facility. A couple of examples of quite common reporting in manufacturing. One is the production efficiency report. In this report, typically the customer are tracing all the activities in the equipment. So what is the changeover, what kind of fault, what was the parameter or the energy of a certain production. And they are using this reporting in what they call daily meeting or shift meeting. So they are printing the reporting, they are using in a daily usage or before a shift to take a technical decision for the next period. Another super important, and I have plenty of examples, but another super important is a production batch report. This is really important because it's tracing all the activities in production. So each step of production, each rework, material movement, any loss of data, any comment of the operator. And this is, in some of the industry, like medical devices, really important because there are some regulation, FDA for the quality. That is really important to have and to save and to keep for a long time. And that is really used to deliver a product in a real life. So that is really a focus for some of our industry. So to summarize, to wrap up, what are the main benefits and what I discussed, of course, with my team. We have also two of our architects here in the room, but also with customers. So from the different perspective, from our point of view and the product, we recognize a very big value having a product like AWS QuickSight in terms of cost. So of course, in terms of scalability, in terms of deployment, in terms of update, of course, because we don't need to do nothing. So it's AWS that is doing for us. And also there is a lot of saving for us. From the architecture, of course, having a new feature, we saw today also other than the reporting that is super important. We saw a lot of beautiful feature that has been released. All these features are something that we leverage for free. So we have there, we can use it. We don't need to reorganize our architecture every time to release a new feature to our customer. That is super important. And by the other point of view, also from a time to market, having APIs, have a rich set of SDK, having the embedded capabilities, we can deliver quickly to our customer out-of-the-box functionality for the different industry. From the customer point of view, instead, there are mainly 2 points I'm discussed with a lot of customers. Mainly there are 2 points. One is, of course, having a single product with the dashboard, machine learning, and the reporting. It's really a value. Our customer and our user don't want to learn different tools. So they don't want. They are operators sometimes. They want to have a tool easy to use, and they want to learn 2 different tools to make a reporting or dashboard. They need to have a very simple solution. And that's with QuickSight we can provide this kind of solution. And from the other point of view is related to cost. The scalability in terms of performance, but also in terms of cost, is one of the important points for the manufacturing. I mentioned before that was one of the pillars for our decision at the beginning. So small, medium business, enterprise customer wants to start with a small set of users, and the business is changing mainly today in the pandemic. So this is really important to have this kind of flexibility. So that is why we have started the journey with AWS and with AWS QuickSight, and that is why we are continuing this journey. We hope that also in future we will have more and more customers together. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, definitely I want to thank Max and his team for partnering with us. QuickSight has been a great partner with us as we've been building out our reporting capabilities, and just seeing their story is wonderful. I do want to call out really quickly as we wrap up here, there is a session that is not listed on here that we just put out of embargo earlier today. So 4 o'clock over at the MGM, so you can take a shuttle to get down there, I do believe. There's a whole session on what's new in QuickSight. So there's going to be an entire tour of all the new capabilities in QuickSight, and that session is at 4 o'clock. Finally, I want to encourage everyone to join the QuickSight community if you haven't today. I believe that QR code works from being up on the screen. We'd love to see you in the community. The product team is in the community, all the time. And there's lots of great content in the community. There's access to demos, there's access to videos and how-tos, and it's just a really great place to learn more about QuickSight. So with that, I want to say thank you. Please remember to complete the session survey in the mobile app, and I hope you enjoy your rest of your time here at reInvent. Thank you very much.